Live from Richmond, welcome race fans one and all back to Green Flag TV, where this afternoon we are geared up for yet more racing action here on Monday night. Welcome to the Richmond Raceway, and welcome back to the High Tide Racing League on Monday night. My name is Ramble, alongside Justin Prince. We bring you all the action from start to finish here on this fantastic Monday afternoon. Justin, it's been a while since we've taken to the short tracks here on Monday nights, and what a track to come back to as the action track. It's called that for a reason. We could be in for a fun 200-lap ride here tonight.
It depends on your definition of fun, first of all, because attrition is going to be potentially high here tonight, Nolan. At least 3-4 drivers spun and qualified alone in one or two of their laps. And for many of these our drivers, it's going to be the matter of trying to make sure there's no bits of contact, because tonight you're talking about a car that doesn't necessarily like the bump and run. It's going to be a really tough one, but it's going to be fun if you like tough nights, Nolan.
You talk about tough nights as well. Not only is this a racetrack that absolutely despises being hit up the backside, it is also a very frigid track temp out there, only 69 degrees Fahrenheit this afternoon. And that means this track is going to be cool, it's going to be slick, and that's one of the big reasons here, Justin, why out of the 18 cars that attempt to put down qualifying laps, only 14 were able to put times on the boards, and outside of that 18, there was another 6 or so that didn't even try.
Yeah, some of the drivers in the session even said they weren't expecting that many cars to not put up a qualifying time. It shows the expectation tonight, Nolan, quite simply of attrition out of those who did not put up times. They expect cautions, and they don't want to be up in the heart of the field in case of trouble. That being said, though, tonight's going to be a thrill ride for some of the drivers if you are able to maintain track position. Some of the best in the series so far, like Thorpe, like Nickerson, like Dees that's been able to come back despite missing 2 races with some good runs as of late. Some of those drivers look like they'll be very comfortable. Those points, though, could shuffle a fair bit at the cut line again.
Shannon Hobb, no surprise there. He remains furthest up the field. A tight fight for third at the moment, though. Nickerson, Thorpe, and Coruscant all entering this race with just 1 point between them. Tied as well for the 8th place spot between Sean Williams and Eddie Hagge. And then you bring up the cut line, Justin, all the way down to 16th, where it's a bit of a decent gap that Canfield has back to Dustin Ping, but one bad moment and he can find himself in with a world of hurt. Canfield is here this afternoon, as is Dustin Ping, so they'll both be able to fight it out and see who comes out on top in their little grudge match. James Yerger present as well in the 15th place in the points.
I'm looking towards Dees, remember, with 9 races appeared and plus the technical and provisional in the standings. He's one of the drivers that we know can't perform, but will have to dig pretty hard to be able to get up to the 12th spot. Only 4 points to separation. Barasco did pick up a bit in qualifying, and we also know Brian Dees, as we touched upon, looked pretty fast in the qualifying and the practice sessions. So tonight might see another shuffle in the points for that top 12 cut.
All of this takes us to what has so far been a treacherous racetrack. A lot of drivers having problems with their practice, even more having troubles in qualifying. And even here in the 10-minute warm-up session, you still see contenders struggling to figure out the Richmond Raceway. It's one of those tracks that's a bit of an enigma, right? The start-finish line, not in the center of the D-Oval like you might expect. It is a little bit earlier, whereas obviously the track they tell today would have it later on in the D-Oval. Turns 1 and 2 tend to be much more of a momentum-based line than 3 and 4, which tends to be a bit more point and shoot, at least on the way in. But you're going to have a lot of drivers trying to get up to speed, double file down that front stretch. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to get some lap 1 melees in turn 1.
I wouldn't be surprised to see some trouble absolutely there, because the ability for stack-ups with the double wide, we might see someone force 3 wide. It's a racetrack where we might also see people drift up a half a lane into the entry, especially into that opening corner. So for many of these drivers, it's about making sure you can make the passes early on before the chaos strikes. And if we do get that long run in here, Nolan, it's going to be the matter of being able to maintain those tires, because we know tonight might see a decent bit of fall off depending on how things go in a few moments.
Well, all of that will take us around to the main race here this afternoon. 200 laps, under 200 miles, though, will be on order for us here this afternoon, as we will see who's going to be starting where for race in action here this afternoon. The 10-minute warm session draws to a close, and starting on pole position, you are going to have none other than Michael Thorpe Jr. on the pole for Golden Garden Autosport. He is alongside Nick Nickerson on the front row of the grid. Road number 2 this afternoon, it's Scott Shire. He brings up alongside 13th place of the points entered tonight, Brian Dees, with row number 3 on the grid holding Dustin Ping and Eddie Hagge. Row 4, we'll see the likes of John Osborne and Connor Gibson, 2 contenders that are looking to improve on their seasons with a bit of misfortunes as of late. Kevin Foster and Ty Marasco then round out the top 10.
11th spot today goes the way of Jonathan Canfield. James Yerger was the one who said he was surprised about the qualifying details tonight. He'll start in 12 in this one. Jaden Hopp crashed in the second lap of qualifying after being the fastest in final practice. He starts 13th. Kyle Wellman is next to him in the top 14. Those drivers a couple seconds off. You also have Sean Williams down in the running order tonight, but Nicholas Coruscant next to him. Those are the first 2 drivers who did not set times tonight. Benjamin Lacey starts 17th, Dalton Kiro 18th. 2 fast drivers towards the tail. Michael Keithley and Bob Berry were amongst the drivers who attempted some times. They did not get those times. 19th and 20th is where they'll run. And the rest of the drivers are Sikorsky and Bell, and Carter Phillips will start at the tail for 5 Points Motorsports.
So 23 contenders, not all of which have gridded up here this afternoon. Notably, we are missing Kyle Wellman from the grid. He will look to start his race from pit road. What do you reckon? Do you think this is just missing the call, or is he just trying to see if he can get a leg up on this field and try to see if he can stay out of early race troubles?
I think the call is he's expecting an early caution flag, then immediately bunches up to the field, passes by those with damage, boom. That's how you play the strategy. It could go bust, though, if we end up getting a long green flag run tonight. He's hoping for some chaos.
Well, the field going to make their way into turn numbers 1 and 2. Now, normally I would say this is one of those races where we can see Jaden Hopp power his way towards the front, but honestly, tonight, I'm not so sure. I feel like we could be seeing Hopp struggling a bit tonight if he's one of the drivers that spun out in qualifying.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting battle, I think, up front. Your top runners, including that top 2, I think have a chance to be able to break away. They did so at Dover, after all. The question will be, though, will the field stay tame enough for them to get those long green flag runs?
We'll find out here, won't we, this afternoon as the field makes their way out of turn number 3 and 4 into the restart zone. Happy you're joining us here on Monday night. It's go, go, go from the action track. First lap quickly in the books here this afternoon. Thorpe leads the way. Nickerson second. Scottshire back in third, with Brian Dees trying to power around the outside of him. Looking down into turn number 1. The top 2 on a quick breakaway, and just we've made it through lap 1 clean.
There's the first step. Now can we get it to at least 10 laps? Then that long run. It really depends on the field. John Osborne was one of the drivers that snapping loose a lot in practice and qualifying. We see a little bit of the bobbles from that 77. We'll see a lot of people backing up these corners just for stability at this point on the short run with these cold tires.
Well, the field going to look to get themselves sorted here this afternoon as we cruise on down in the turn numbers 3 and 4. Jaden Hopp trying to open up a door on the inside. Kevin Foster sits just up the road in the number 9 spot. He's trying to now look to the inside of Osborne in the early going. So a lot of jockeying for position early on, but for the most part, drivers have played respectfully, giving each other at least a lane to work with throughout these corners.
A little bit more space than I was expecting here tonight from some of the drivers. But with the way Richmond can be with the twitchiness, I can see it. And a lot of these competitors just making sure there's space to breathe, space to exit. Benjamin Lacey, good example here. Could track up an hour half a lane if he wanted to, but gave the space. Despite that, Canfield just knocked the wall down as look at Dees under attack.
And Brian D's under fire here from Eddie Hagee. This is further back down the front straightaway. Thorpe is going to put down the fastest lap of the race so far tonight. No surprise there as he has taken off at the head of the field. Brian D's to the outside of the 97. And D's in the Soul Stealer number 17 Monte Carlo still slinging that one around the outside of Hagee. They've been double foul for about 3 laps now with Hagee unable to find a way through.
Yeah, the tough thing about Richmond is it's hard to pass because it's preferred to be the inside group, but you can still, like a lot of the tracks on the schedule, the outside to pinch, force drivers to lift, and there's the fact that off the bottom, you're turning more sharp right exit and bobbling loose. There's a look, for example. Hagee tried to center in D's, got loose, had to get off the throttle, and now that shows just how difficult it'll be just to make the pass unless you get plenty of give and take here. I think Hagee's got a faster car in this fight, for example. It's just a matter of can he withstand the loose conditions right there off forward when the car wants to spin.
Look at all that glare as well in the faces of these drivers as they come around their turn numbers 1 and 2 here. And we'll jump over to the helmet camera here of Justin Ping, right? That's a lot of glare right into your eyes down the back straightaway. That could be why we're seeing some drivers playing this a little bit more tenderly in the opening laps here as they're waiting for that sun to duck behind the horizon so they can actually see where they're going.
Yeah, visibility might be a little bit of a factor for a touch bit here. Not the biggest factor, but will, depending on your setup, allow you, or rather require you, kind of a hand a little bit, try and block out that sun to make sure you can just see just right. But as you see with some of the battles, though, one of the drivers we're talking about expecting to fly, Jaden Hopp, is doing that already, going for 7th.
Coming around down the back straightaway. Kevin Foster trying to advance his way up the field. He's got Benjamin Lacey right behind him. Jaden Hopp making short work early on of several of his contenders. He's already up 6 positions into the number 7 spot, but he has dropped back 4.5 seconds to Michael Thorpe Jr., and he's continuing to lose time the more he's stuck in the midfield like this.
Yeah, right now, Hopp going to be in a similar spot to a couple of the races this season where if there's a caution flag, you immediately talk about him as a contender for the race win. If it stays green, it's going to require a lot of luck to get up there because to the leaders, he's near 5 seconds behind. You're not gaining 5 seconds unless you're naturally able to pick up clean air and chip away the gap by a few hundreds to about 1/10 a lap or so, naturally over the course of the run. Over the course of a natural race, Nolan, it just doesn't work out to be able to pick up all those spots unless you get the caution to reset yourself, pick up those short run spots, and immediately get yourself to the bumper of the leaders.
And you see Hopp continuing to work on that Ping Precision Autoglass number 81 of Dustin Ping. And Hopp, can he clear this time off of 4? No, Ping continues to hound him from the outside. He actually could look to clear him here. And this is also not helping Jaden Hopp's chances of getting to the head of the field. It's all of these side-by-side battles that are really going to look to slow him down. That's one of the challenges of Richmond, right? You are not completing that pass in just 1 quarter. If these guys are all doing it right, it's going to take you at least a few laps to get fully clear.
Yeah, exactly. It takes about 5-10 laps to make a pass per car here. And the thing about that is it will grind up your tires. It will burn out your equipment. You have to be really quick to be able to make a pass quicker than that detail. There's Hopp, though. D's, I think, is struggling a little bit already. Now that the tires are starting to get towards that mid-run, the 17 is fading and fading fast here.
Yes, sir, sure is continuing to fade backwards in this field, but for the time being, looking more or less set here throughout the order. There you see Sean Williams now trying to get a run around the inside, of John Osborne. They're going to rip their way off of the final corner and back down into turn 1. Osborne in the AOL number 77. Boy, that is a throwback and a half, isn't it, for John Osborne? Way up the grid. Do you know anybody that uses AOL nowadays? Because I sure don't.
Still exists, does it not? I think in some capacity. Not too many people use it these days, though. Very little. if any. I think the dial-up is done, but I think they still have a mail service.
That would make sense, yeah.
Yeah, AOL dial-up ended years, like last year.
Only last year, really?
Yeah.
Huh. I learned something new today. Benjamin Lacey on offense as he's going to take one to the inside of Brian Dees, and Dustin Ping trying to make it 3 wide, but he backs out entering turn 1.
Ping, not too many places to go around here at this point. You can see him starting to fade a little bit right now. Some of the fastest drivers start at the tail. This is what you expect here. No one are charging to this pack like the 7, like some of the others. And that's going to cause a little bit of chaos for those that did qualify but didn't get the best of times and didn't have the comfortability here. Dees, he's not even getting this car to turn the way it needs to turn right here in the second group.
Well, he's going to keep up the battle at least and see if he can't keep the momentum moving forward. Still working in the opening 5th of this race, right? Only 22 laps in. And you kind of mentioned it. You got to get through the first lap, then the first 5, then the first 10. Then you can actually start to look into run. And I think we're actually entering one of these runs here. Never mind, as Brian Dees is sent sideways. So is Dustin Ping. Spun round on the front straightaway. Caution's out for the first time tonight.
You can see that coming eventually here as things bundle up again. Dees, who is struggling off corner exit for the past while, did get a little bit of a hit, try to go lower that time. I believe Payne actually went up into the 17's door there, Nolan. Everybody else, stack up effect, and this is the caution that some people needed to have a chance at the leaders early.
Yes, sir, sure was. We'll take a look back here. This is, that's already kind of in progress there, isn't it, as they come off of turn number 4. Ping slides around, and it's right here where he backs up onto the racetrack where the yellow flag comes out in full. A tough break for this field early on. They were not hoping to be caught unawares like this early on. This is another look at the incident. You'll see Dustin Ping right. Yeah, he just pushed up into D's.
Yeah, straight simply. That's damage, though, as Foster did hit the rear end of Ping's car. It's going to be a few moments in. There goes Thorpe missing the box as half the field pitted, half didn't.
Very split decision between drivers coming down to pit road and those that have opted to stay out. And Thorpe going to lose a few spots there to drivers in the midst of his this stop. So he does make his way back out onto the racetrack and still showing that he's actually retained a 3rd place position. I don't know if I believe that though, Justin.
Yeah, not quite
there
sure.
he goes. Now it's updating. I don't know about that one, Chief. I don't know if that checks out.
Regardless, though, I'm curious call for a couple drivers in terms of pit stops there, but it does put them on a tire advantage where the fall off was already starting to strike by at least 4 or 5/10 of a second at minimum. Nolan makes them into a different split as well for the fuel, because we were talking about this a little bit before. Potential to stop at the gas. And for some of these drivers, it does get them some decent fuel here. Dalton Kirwell took the fuel only for good measure. So the thought might be trying to see if they can get themselves to a spot where if it really comes down to it, maybe the one green flag pit stop instead of the possible 2, which could pin you more laps down.
Kind of jumping through and showing who's done what in terms of strategy. For the most part, it is looking like most drivers did opt for the fuel only. 8.6 though in the box of James Yerger. Justin, do you think that's fuel only, or is that 2 tires as well?
If it's 8.6, it's probably 2 tires normally here in terms of this case. I think that's a decent play. Sean Williams did confirm on his radio as well. He didn't take tires either.
Interesting. So some very split decisions here on pit road. Nick Nickerson now leads the way. One thing to know, Jaden Hopp did come down for fresh tires on that latest stop. Green flag is back in the air, and we're riding back right to it.
Clean start, it looks like this time through for now. No major bobbles, no major wiggles, but we do have the fresh tires swarming behind that 16. Canfield went a whole half a lane lower to block it off, but watch for drivers to try and force the way through here. A lot of these drivers on freshies are getting boxed in quick.
Cruising into turn numbers 1 and 2. Some drivers looking for 3 wide. A couple strike off the wall, but we're able to keep it more or less together, at least for now. Thorpe down the inside of Canfield. And Thorpe still able to fight his way into the 10th place spot as well. So they'll continue to put on pressure here. And you also have Ethan Sikorsky around the outside line of Thorpe, and still they're stacked up nose to tail, 2 rows deep, and the drivers that have come down with fresh tires might be regretting that now because they are just boxed in with nowhere to go.
Oh no, there goes the 77, got loose, hit from behind, and just like that, we're back under caution, and we might see a response for the rest of the field.
Can't say I'm terribly surprised to see John Osborne going around like that down to the tail end of this one. A tough break for Osborne. Yes, we will jump back and try to get a look in on what happened here to Osborne. This is coming out of turn numbers 3 and 4. And he just lost that one all by himself, JP.
Yeah, snapped around, but also got helped by Thorpe Jr. He started getting loose up forward, then Thorpe Jr. gave him the small little bump to the bumper. That's enough to snap around completely, give him that assistance. And now the field frozen again. Looks like the front runners are going to stay out here, extend, try and limit the amount of time under the cautions, or rather prioritize the track position so they don't get pushed back to the swarm. Interesting enough, drivers like Hop and some of the others at the back just topped off again, or at least look to be.
Dalton Kilroe coming down pit road at the tail end of the field. He is joined by several others. Corcel has been given into the longest line penalty. And we'll see where this one is going to leave the pack as we are under the caution flag once again. This time, minimal pit stops on the field for us here this afternoon. We'll take ourselves a quick step back. When we return, it is yet more racing action on Green Flag TV in a moment. Stay with us. We're back for the restart.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Field is coming back out of turn numbers 3 and 4. Green flag back in the air here. Justin in short order after a single car spin for John Osborne. Green flag is back out, and Nickerson takes off into turn numbers 1 and 2.
Clayton jump off the front, but everybody else try to make sure they keep it clean throughout the pack. Lots of different tire strategies, at least 2 different drivers asked in one way or form. Please do not run me over, or please run me over. You know, same thing, different reasons.
Well, they'll remain 2 by as they head down the back straightaway. Already 2 cautions down this afternoon, and everyone else trying to scramble their way on through. You've got Ethan Sikorsky's number 94 still maintaining its momentum up on the outside line. Brian Dees down on the inside line with Haggy Marasco and Michael Thorpe Jr. also in the fray. Dustin Ping had to scramble as Thorpe caught the wall that time by.
Yeah, right now the field getting boxed up. Dees, oh boy, he stepped out too. You just do not want to be on the inside coming out of turn 4 here, Nolan. It seems as though with how tight that corner exit can be, it's just causing a lot of problems for this field.
A lot of issues in this one as we fight our way to the back straightaway. Dustin Ping now looking for 3 wide. Brian Dees going to be split up the middle, and just like that, Dustin Ping goes 2 for 2 into turn 1.
Ping is actually second on the fresh tires too, so he's picking up a lot of great track position here, especially with Thorpe getting boxed in by Marasco. So at this point, run, Ping, run. Oh boy, he snapped loose though to set up Thorpe for the crossover.
And just like Ping did 1 lap ago, Thorpe goes 3 wide into turn 1. He's able to get around the Ping position out of glass number 81. Ethan Sikorsky still maintains his run up in the 7th place spot. Marasco doesn't look like he can realistically challenge Thorpe from the outside line. Bottom lane is seemingly the fastest way around these corners, at least in the midfield. Carter Phillips around to the front straight, but he's going to save it, and we keep it green.
A little bit of a loose moment to say the very least. Again, damage now from Phillips. I think somebody at least got a bit of a touch to him on the slide, but everybody else is getting boxed up here. Ping still 3rd now with the fresh tire strategy. There's a lot of drivers talking on the radio all of a sudden here. Gibson continuing to get sent underneath with drivers trying to push. There goes Marasco.
Big moment, they're able to hold it together. Now they come together again in turn 3, and Marasco spins and catches the outside wall. Coruscant comes to a stop to avoid. John Osborne looking like he may have gone around as well. Kyle Wellman, it looks like, had to bail to pit road meanwhile.
Yeah, there was a lot of shouty going on at the time as the field checks up here. A couple people, I think, slammed on the brakes. Wellman, I think, got to the back end of the one originally in the stack up, and then it got worse there going into turn 3. Watch the descent coming on through here, because Marasco tries to keep it middle. Then you see Gibson does go a little lower. Marasco doesn't go fully straight, has to try and get some space, doesn't get it originally from Wellman. Then Wellman able to save it, but has this flatter line along the yellow line, pushes right back up the track into the 1.
And he's just going to go up and clip the outside wall. And you see Wellman instantly bailing into pit road as well, likely trying to just get his own black flag served with there and out of the way, because otherwise, not really much reason to come down pit road at this point in time, especially when you know what caution's about to come out.
Yeah, right there. That wasn't going to stick regardless. Even if Marasco was to give space there, there was likely going to be some sort of blend up from the 42. And at this point, this is the Richmond the field expected here. Let's see this again from some of the traffic.
This with Brian Dees right behind the melee, and he is just going to get around on the outside.
Did hit the wall, though. Think the car's okay. Didn't take too bad of a hit to the door. But this did bring a couple more people, I think, down to pit road again. In fact, more than half the field pit. And as we expect with the pit road close violation, the 42's are back.
Yeah, Kyle Wellman dropping towards the tail end of the pack, while Eddie Haggy now picks up the lead of the race. Still have the top 4 that have not come down to pit road, along with Carter Phillips. But 10th on down did come down under the yellow flag. All of them 4 tires, save for Yerger, who was field only.
I mean, you just took a set. Why not make sure you could serve it? We have 4 total sets to the pits tonight, so you want to leave a couple sets to work with for late caution flags and caution periods with about 30, 40 laps to go. You don't want to be pushed to where you're going to be out of those sets late, and then you're stuck on the old tires and you end up playing a losing game.
Lights on the pace car go out. Eddie Hagge opting for the outside lane of the restart this time. Now, this is something that a lot of drivers have a tendency to do, Justin, so they can get a better momentum run in a turn 1. Do you reckon that could work out for Hagge here?
I think it's going to be decent for Hagge from the outside. I've seen already the jump on Richmond last restart play out with the 2 from the outside. Going to work out well. Watch it there. Gets the jump, doesn't get the tires put with the inside. Can take whatever lane he wants, and it's side by side behind instead.
Clear by 2 by the time they even got down to the start-finish line for Eddie Hagge. Absolutely no competition behind, while Thorpe and Keithley almost bang doors. Keithley does strike the outside wall. Coming down into turn number 3, while Larry Bell and Dustin Ping also fighting out just behind. Dalton Kilroe, Jaden Hobb, 2 more fast runners and high-time racing heavy hitters trying to power their way to the field. They're going to look to overtake the Canadian Larry Bell round the inside of number 2.
Some of the drivers immediately going on the dig with the different strategies here. Bell, part of those are the old tires. Nick Nickerson, though, that 2 machine, gonna have to cut through pretty quickly. Has that difference of maybe 15 green flag laps, but we're under caution again. And we have a wreck involving the 4.
Oh, that's big for the points here. Scott Shire involved, Jonathan Canfield involved, and boy, after a long opening run of this race, about 23 laps, it has just fallen apart since then. Have not been able to get more than about 5 or 6 laps or so into this race from there. I'll take a look at this one. This is what the scene looks like coming down into turn number 1 with Scott Shire at the back of the field.
Yeah. A lot of these drivers already chatting about this. Gibson said, I wasn't trying to do that, but it's pretty clear-cut.
Oh, boy, that is a brutal hit into the wall for Scott Shire. Look at that. Lifted all 4 wheels off the ground. He got on top of Jonathan Canfield. Kyle Wellman did a good job to slow it down. Williams went through the middle, and for the 2nd wreck in a row, Nicholas Corso just comes to a dead stop.
Yep, and at this point, cautions, precautions, precautions. This is the trouble we were expecting. Right there, Gibson tried to take a 3, almost tried to back up and hit the quarter panel. And everybody else at that point, no hard thing to do except try and slam on the brakes. Campfield wasn't going to dodge that. The others, lucky they did slow up in time, but they did buzz the front tires.
It's like Martinsville, right? You don't realize how fast these guys are actually going to the C1, going backwards and out of control, unable to stop it. A huge lick into the wall before jumping all 4 wheels off the ground when Jonathan Canfield came plowing right into the door.
See, right there, you see the chance. Gibson thought about the inside, but the opportunity was there, just was way too close. And at this point, Shire gonna have a lot of heavy damage repair. This gonna shuffle the top into the points. Interesting enough, the 4 just came out of pit road and is yet to get a deck lid. So for Shire, that car's not gonna have a lot of downforce, nearly spinning under caution.
And you think at a track like this, you don't need that downforce all that much. But when you're in these cars, right, that have over 600 horsepower, you need whatever downforce you can you can get. And I'm willing to bet it's not just downforce, right? But you got stuff like a track bar in the back there. That's going to be completely destroyed. Likely still some suspension damage on the rear end as well. I would not be surprised if we see that car going around within the first 10 laps here.
Yeah, there's no way this car lasts here because no rear spoiler, it feels like that car just wants to dance around, spin, especially too with no TV panel. That car's going to be very evil the rest of the run. Watch for that. Here is again the 97. Here we lost the lead for the caution flag. We'll try and hold off this time.
Well, the field going to go at it once again. iRacing pace car is down pit road, and the field is right back into the fray. Eddie Haggett jumps on the loud pedal, and we're back to racing.
That's what we've done, but wait for the send coming up. Expecting Kilroe to fight pretty hard here with the older tires too, but we already know the 2. Be pretty quick here on some of these sends. Same for Benjamin Lacey in the 7. Those fresher tires are going to come away quick to set up for some of these moves. Watch for the sends.
Thorpe looking high, trying to see if he can get an over-under run through turn 2. He's got the nose down the inside, but is that enough to try and secure the run down the inside here of Eddie Hagge into turn numbers 3 and 4. He still is tucked right up alongside, pulls even with the door. Can he take the lead away this time by? Looking like he's just about got him as they come around to the turn numbers 1 and 2, but Hagge with the run back around the top and nearly strikes the turn 2 wall.
That lead wasn't going to last too long, even with the same tire split. Thorpe Jr.'s just been that much quicker here tonight. But at this point, the 2 is evil in terms of its grip. Nick Nickerson just slid around the entire front straightaway and is still leaning on that left rear tire.
Nickerson able to clear for the 4th place spot as he gathers it up. Speaking of having to gather it up, Scott Shire at the moment lapping over a second slower than the leaders of this race. His last lap times have been the 23.5s. Your leaders hitting 22.1s. Really showing just how nasty that car is driving right now for the number 4 all the way at the back end of the field. And at that rate, these guys are not going to take long to catch up to him.
Yeah, this should be, for a lot of the drivers, pretty quick. Hop in particular actually got through 30 seconds of damage repair. Must have picked up some sort of damage at one point from some of the caution periods. For a place to go, but Lacey in particular has that inside groove to be able to cut. How will things fare out? Inside line, the better line, remember, and look at that, some smoke popped up for, I think, one of the lap cars in front of Shire.
It would have actually been Scott Shire himself, had a bit of a slide coming out of turn 4, but because nobody was around him, he was able to keep that car pointing in the right direction, but again, going to hard into the wall for Dalton Kilroe. Out of turn 2, look out for the field. Pink slaps the wall, but otherwise everyone misses him. Not like it's going to matter as Kilroe with that smoky engine going to be done for the day.
Well, something definitely happened technical-wise. This may be a tough look here, Nolan, because pretty simply, Dalton blinked out middle of the corner. He was running in the MFRD car, fine, going fine. And then, as the tempers flare up, right about here-ish, he just disappears. Lacey doesn't know, and there's the bump under the blink.
And by the time we get back, he's already into the wall. So I think when that car blinked out, Lacey lost sight of where it was, and for all intents and purposes, ran Dalton Kilroe over, but it's not like Lacey can do a whole lot about that.
Yeah, there's not much you can do because you don't know if that car's gone. You don't know if there's a slow up that they've had. Now watch this from Lacey's perspective. Distance is closed in the first place. Right there, he just doesn't know that that throttle point was hitting the bumper. If he knew he was there, he probably would have let it roll an extra half a second to a second.
Well, and you saw that for a split second right before, Lacey was starting to close the gap, so he may have been able to keep it out of him, but that little bit of netcode there, that's what's going to do him in.
Definitely will at this point, and as tempers flare over the radio, we are starting to get to the darkness. There goes that visibility issue we were talking about possibly, but this is where the trend now comes in on how long you're willing to let the car stay out there with the tires and with the fuel, because it's looking like green flag pit stops are going to require a lot more clean racing or a lot more cars to vanish to get. It might be an attrition-filled one once again, Nolan.
This is not the only race we have on Green Flag TV tonight, of course. We also have the Collegiate iRacing League with the UNOH Cup Series at the Chicagoland Speedway currently ongoing as well. You can see a live look at their race down on the bottom right of your screen. You also have the Belgian Sim Racing Federation having quite the ride out for the Brands Hatch circuit earlier today. They have put on an absolute thriller in the early hours of Monday here this afternoon from the Brands Hatch circuit. And boy, Justin, you want to talk about must-watch TV. There's nothing like seeing a three-wide sneak attack of an ambush coming into the second-to-last corner of Brands Hatch to get you on your feet. But we're double foul, and we're going back Green Flag Racing this next time by.
Yep, indeed. It's so far been solid in terms of the battles, but now we expect that 7 to maybe try and pursue for the race lead here. Watch for Benjamin Lacey. Try and get the wrapper on the 97 off the jump, especially with Thorpe Jr. once he gets on the gas.
Thorpe going to come around into turn numbers 3 and 4. Eddie Hagee all the way up on the outside line. Green flag back in the air, and once again, we're underway and about, 5 or 6 cautions now, and we're not even close to halfway through.
Right now, this field really settling itself on down for the time being. Well, and let's just say that James Yerger says, what's settling down when I can point my car towards the inside while getting loose?
Well, the good news for the field is that the sun has set behind the grandstand, so it's not like these drivers are going to be having much of an issue when it comes to visibility anymore down that back straightaway. That could lead to even more incidents, though, among this field as drivers get a little bit braver, especially with this 3-wide moment that Kyle Wellman's taking down the inside of Carter Phillips and Bob Berry.
Yeah, at this point, a lot of these competitors are saying, all right, you want the inside, I'll let you have it here. Sikorsky, very chippy on the radio here tonight with all the sends. Some of the others to attack Hagee as we expected. Lacey's up there. Hop passed by the 2, by the way, already.
Yeah, Jaden Hobb making short work of Nick Nickerson, who is still trying to work on Eddie Hagee down there, while Hobb tries to close the gap to Benjamin Lacey and Michael Thorpe Jr. up at the head of the field. While some drivers continue to strike off the outside wall in turn 2. Hagee looking like he'll be able to tuck in between Nickerson and Michael Keithley here, so he'll be able to stop the bleeding at the 5th place spot on the running order this afternoon. Bob Berry still trying to get a look down the inside, and he continues to be engrossed in that fight between Yerger and Phillips. And Phillips way up the track and almost into the outside wall.
Got 3 wide a little bit there. That nearly caused a little fear for Bob Berry and for Carter Phillips, it looked like, more than anything else. 3 wide's never really good here.
Oh, no!
Oh, no!
Thorpe's been taken out for the race lead by Benjamin Lacey, but he pulls it together, and once again, Thorpe wrangles a Gen 4 back underneath. Now, what a save for the lead of the race. Jaden Hobb attacks to the inside and takes the lead away.
Oh my goodness, Thorpe was trying to cut down through the corner. Lacey was trying to go for the send. Thorpe is lucky he held on to it. Yeehaw with the drift. But at this point, Jaden Hobb is up front, and now it's going to be hard to pass for the lead.
Boy, that was fantastic driving there from Michael Thorpe Jr. Take a ride on board with him. This is coming off of turn 4, and Benjamin Lacey's going to have an attack down the inside and a 1, and that is going to send Thorpe for a ride.
Now look at this. Just really snaps over to the right. What a save and a half by Thorpe. Any mistake on those overcorrections, and we would have had a big one in turn 2 instead. Thorpe just burns up a load of his rear tires. It's at the top of the field as the back of the field really on top of each other here.
You have to wonder if Michael Thorpe Jr. has got some dirt racing in his background here on iRacing, right? Because those were dirt track tactics that he was using, modulating the throttle to keep that car underneath them with the good old turn right to go left strategy. And was able to do so to perfection, barely skipped a beat. He still held on to the number 2 spot throughout all of that. By the time he got back up to speed, wow, meanwhile, they are just double file constantly in the background.
Yeah, at this point, if you're in this hornet's nest, you have to be careful in terms of the line. We talked about the issues coming off of turn 4. But if you want to get yourself ahead in this pack, you better be able to pick that right line to the bottom, get it to the inside before that door slams. See that in particular with Ping able to take the inside away from the 77, who of course took it away from the 31. And you go for the move and keep up the pattern as long as you can here before you inevitably grind them away.
Still looking to go at it, 2x2 wide. Coruscant trying to look down the inside of Carter Phillips. He's got the inside. The only question now is, can he clear him? He is going to clear him in turn 3, and Phillips cannot get the drive around the outside, but he will be able to tuck it line to keep Dustin Ping from challenging for a top 10. Right in front of him, Kyle Wellman, who's been the center of attention in a few of these ranks. He now is trying to go down the inside of Michael Keith Lee.
Right now, Keith Lee has been pretty solid tonight. Had some track position with the strategy. On the older tires, he's actually making it work pretty well here. But he's also one of the drivers with the longest stint on the tires / the fuel. And the more longer we go through this run here, Nolan, the more panic that may settle in for some of those drivers, because if you're a part of those 54, 55-ish laps into the run cars, question will be, how long can you actually get going, and will it set you up to where you can actually make it on a one stop on gas? The others definitely can. A lot of these hour drivers could be a little bit more nervous here because they'll have the potential being pinned laps down.
Still quite a few side-by-side fights, but it does look like this race will be in it for the long haul this afternoon. So, Justin, what we are going to be able to do here, we do have Dalton Kilroe standing by. So as you watch these side-by-side fights carry on, let's get a chit-chat in here with the driver of the number 41. Dalton, a tough break to close out your race here this afternoon. I know that was not the way you were hoping Richmond was going to go down.
Yeah, not at all. And sure enough, it seems like as soon as I'm out of the race, they decided to figure out how to drive. So. Mind my business running third, got topped once 2 laps prior by somebody else, and then just drove through on the exit of 1 and 2. Didn't even have a chance. So they're claiming I was blinking, but I got 4 teammates that were telling me they didn't see anything. So I don't know what he exactly saw, but to me it just seems like a terrible excuse for why he just ran me over and ended my night. I know he didn't mean to do it on purpose. It's just that it's way too early for that crap to be happening.
Well, to say it's been a bit of an up and down season for that number 41 would be a little bit of an understatement here. I know this championship hasn't been exactly to your liking so far, but do you still think you'll be able to bounce back and contend for a championship by the end of the chase?
If I don't get crashed out or have mechanical issues, yeah, absolutely. But this car is horrible, so I don't know what they're gonna screw up next. But I switching to this thing was probably the worst thing we've done as a league, in my opinion.
Well, Sonoma Raceway is just around the corner. It's the last road course race of the season. What's going to be the game plan as we swing back out to California?
Survive and hope that the track burns down as soon as we leave it. I hate that track so much.
I'm sure you and probably a couple others throughout this field. It's not an easy track in these cars, but we've seen it put together some good performances, so we'll see if we can do it again when we swing out to Sonoma next week.
Hey, fingers crossed.
Dalton Kilroe out of this race on lap 63, and boy, Justin, that was a bit of a tell us how you really feel type of interview, wasn't it? I mean, clearly he has his own opinions about what happened. Obviously, netcode is obviously a tricky thing to challenge, but boy, very vocal about his displeasures on how his season has gone so far.
We did see him blink on our side, correct?
I sure did. I wasn't going to be the one to tell him that personally, but it's one of those situations. I mean, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It's one of those things where it can be hard to tell, because I'm sure, like, on his side, he doesn't think he blinked. I doubt he would have noticed, but everyone has their own opinion. Well,
either way, it is going to be a bit of a hit in the points for Kilroe, and he's it's going to be tough at the road course. Going to be a little bit of a next couple race stretch for the 41. That's going to be a tumble for him. Looking at these live points right here. Still going to be in the middle of the pack here in 7th spot. But it's still going to be a little bit lower, obviously, than he'd like to be, maybe with a couple races after Sonoma to go before that chase.
Well, the good news is that he does have a very significant buffer. I mean, we're talking over a full race worth of points. So he can miss an entire race, score no points, and he would still be in the top the top 16 for the chase. So it's not a total loss. He's done a good job on at least being consistent enough throughout the season that he's gotten himself in a pretty safe position to make that chase. But the big question is obviously going to be, if he can't turn this race around, he's going to be on the back foot big time entering the chase.
Yeah, it's all the nervousness that I think you can see pop up here for some of those drivers that are going to be on that back foot when they have to close up a lot of these buffers. Really, for the most part, to the very least, just get to the top 12 is the main focus on the rest of the pack. But with the way things have shuffled tonight, I think here, Nolan, I'm surprised here with what we've seen with Brian Dees, where he started off with a good track position. All he had to do was stay up towards the front, get good points. He's done the exact opposite with that split. Oh man, the 7 just hit Marasco now.
Oh boy. He does back off, and that's going to buy him a bit of breathing room, but that also puts Benjamin Lacey now into the firing line of Kyle Wellman, just a little ways behind. So what was a two-way side-by-side battle and forth is going to be going nowhere. How about this? Now we got Eddie Haggy making his way into pit road for one of our first green flag pit stops of the night. And this would be scheduled, I think, at 6 to 7 laps.
That's my worry, is on the fuel distance, how far are you going to get? Larry Bell just came in also. Those other drivers, start doing your calculations. This is going to be a little bit of a tricky one, because normally we're talking around 100 or so-ish laps on the modern cars on a full run. But obviously with this small fuel tank at 80%, and we know with the higher fuel burn, more like the trucks you'll see, it's going to get tricky. We have someone to the wall. 3 cars just dodged as chaos abound for the 77.
Yeah, that would be John Osborne, who got up and into the fence, it looks like here. A tough break for him. Try to get a look back here and find out what happened. Eddie Haggy formula slow on the racetrack as well. That's because he just came down pit road. This is the look, though, on what happens to Osborne coming around turn number 2. And yeah, that's a hard shot into the fence. And that nearly put him 4 wide.
Now, tough situation once again with the 4 wide, but everyone's able to live. No major damages to deal with, and at this point, some of the drivers like Williams, going to be interesting on how far they go. Remember, 44, 45 laps, one of the drivers with some better fuel economy. The others, like Michael Thorpe Jr., are in the 70s on their fuel distance as we see some of the battles in the back.
Coruscant trying to get down the inside of Kyle Wellman, and just like that, he is through. And these are 2 drivers that are on the same tire strategy. So Coruscant's doing a great job on just trying to bide his time on the fresher tires, and now using some of the extra tread. Now that he's been saving that tire to power around the inside of Wellman. You see Wellman actually bobbling there off of turn 2, and that's going to allow for the number 40 to continue to pull away with the 6th place spot.
Nicely done there for the 40 on his move again. Jorger's been pretty solid here tonight with the strategy plays. Been able to keep solid track position amongst the top 10 here. But as we see, Keithley again up out of the groove, older tires, which is going to cause a lot more struggle here to be able to maintain compared to some of those on 20, 30 lap pressure Goodyears.
Boy, James Yerger really trying to power around the inside of Keithley here. Keithley continues to retain out of turn number 4 down the front straightaway. And oh, Yerger's wide. He's going to take Keithley in the middle of turn 1. Keithley holds it. Canfield also gets through for 11th.
A little bit of a wash up the racetrack there by Yerger. Getting a little bit tighter now with the right front starting to burn out a little bit on his car. Keithley's very lucky to survive, and oh boy, Jurger nearly snapped around for some reason going into one.
Continuing to go side by side as Canfield retains down the inside. Keithley caught up in the mix as he's going to drop outside of the top 10. And now we're seeing a lot of the contenders that have been able to save tires for the last few laps starting to stretch their legs as Canfield clears Keithley. Will he secure? Yes, he does. He gets up the inside. Jurger now into the wall out of turn 2.
I think Jurger's car is extremely struggling at this point right now. Just cannot seem to get the car to rotate right now the way he wants it down into the braking zone. You see he's having to back up the corners a lot more than some of the others. His tires are shredded. He's going to be hoping for a caution flag to stop his plummet through the order.
And he can see one car way up the racetrack. That was Michael Keithley continuing to lose ground. Larry Bell, one of the fighters that is down 2 laps down, still trying to just salvage his day after being collected in a couple of moments. Dalton Kilrow still in pit road, but that car, he has confirmed it is done for the day. And now Keithley coming down to pit road, this time by 80 laps in on his stint.
So with that range, that does indeed here, Nolan, put him in a situation where they'd have to come down again with about 15 or so laps to go. Here's the danger in this call too. Because of how he got pinned here, he's going to be in a spot where he needs it to go green for another 20, 30 or so laps. To say the very least, that is going to be a tough task with how this field can race here at Richmond. Anybody snaps around, and those who have pit here, or those who are one of those who stayed on the early caution flag, are going to be in a tough spot here.
Yeah, a tough break for the grid here this afternoon. I think we are, for the most part, being able to work our way a bit further into the fights here, but boy, what a race this has been. A bit of a messy opening quarter, but ever since that crash about, 40 laps ago, we've been really looking to put down the hammer, and we've gotten a long green flag run. We're now past the halfway mark, and a lot of pit strategy starting to open up for the field here, and this could very easily determine who finishes where.
Especially with a lot of these drivers going to be, in some of their cases, we can tell with the way they're handling here, Nolan, they were planning on short run. Weren't snapping around, trying to make sure they lasted 40-ish laps. Some of these drivers, I don't think were expecting to go 70, 80 laps on their tires after so many of the caution flags early on. They're paying the price. A few of those competitors, others, they're just trying to search around for anything they can on grip. Dustin Ping's using something we've seen in RTP action a few years ago. The outer groove up on this very top around the wall actually worked well in the trucks like 2023, 24-ish. That surprised competitors. And that's going to allow him to be able to get some decent runs off the corner, even though he'll lose a lot of it on apex.
"90 laps to go this time by," as it has very much become a game of waiting for a lot of folks in this field tonight. Benjamin Lacey has had his fair share of moments today. I mean, he's been put through the ringer for that Real Earth Hills number 7, but trying to bounce back with that long run pace that Lacey is known for. Now looking at the inside of Coruscant for the top 5 here as we cruise into 3 and 4.
Good race so far for the 7. Well, there's bits of contact tonight. Lacey having a decent points day yet again after the technical issues earlier on in the season. But we know Coruscant in particular, it's one of the drivers we normally have seen glued to drivers like Williams. That glue's become undone as the year's gone on, Nolan. Interestingly enough, we talked about the 40 and the 89 because those two were 7-8 or 6-7 or 5-6 or anything along those lines much of the season. Coruscant's kind of stepped on his own groove while Williams has stepped back.
Yeah, Williams still stepping back a little bit further as well here as he now runs right behind Scott Shire. Scott Shire also 1 lap down after he got put pretty hard into the wall. And looks like he's finally got that deck lid fixed there, Justin. I think he had enough trying to run around on it. So 14 laps down, and at this point, if you're Scott Shire, you're not in this for overall trying to go for a win. You're just hoping that more drivers take themselves out of the race so you can salvage some more points out of the night.
Yeah, a couple drivers have been wondering, what are these settings going on? Remember, he's going to be on a much different set of tires. You're 14 laps into the tire stint right now, specifically. But it's the best you can do. Hope for more attrition, get the points, get out of town. Right now, that's kind of the main point set. You want to finish the races. The main thing is, don't wreck anybody while doing it.
Oh, of course, and I'm sure he's very mindful of some of the extra pace that he's probably going to have in comparison to most of the drivers on track. But even then, you can still see he's being very ginger into these corners. I mean, he's still lapping into the high 22s, which does make me wonder if perhaps he still has a little bit of damage on the underside of that car that we don't know about. Well, Thorpe comes down pit road after 91 laps.
Well, we do know with some of the drivers going about 80-ish before previously, this should just about, if not does, put him in the window for the fuel range. So this is going to put him on a very tight one-stop situation. Going to have to run it dry and hope there's no cautions again. Thorpe Jr. seems to be in position for a top 5 if it does cycle forward.
Thorpe will drop back to 19th place in the meantime, 1 lap down. Ethan Sikorsky still fighting for a top 10. Kevin Foster coming to pit road this time as well.
So Foster, who's been solid all night, here's the thing, 74 laps on his run. That's the big thing about how this race has gone is some of the drivers with the cautions have gone 90, some of them have gone 70. If you're going the 70-ish range, that's the, obviously, you can't make it. You're hoping for another caution. For some of these errors like Hop, you have to try to extend. You have to wear these tires out. You have to try and survive. Only 1 second of fall off, keep in mind, Nolan. So it's not as big of a potential jump as some may expect on the fresher set maybe tonight, Nolan. But it will be a factor potentially for some contact, and with the colder tires, already seen at least one driver nearly point their way to the inside wall with some slides.
So you can see the mass disparity of stint lengths that we're seeing throughout the field here in this one. I mean, Hop up 87, then it's 76, 76, 58. You got some drivers on lap 69 about to go on into 70. You really have 3 different strategies that are at play here based on what yellow flag you came down on in the opening 60 or so laps of this race, and that is why we're seeing so much disparities throughout the field. Here comes Nick Nickerson, 77 laps on his stint, and he's in this time by. And so is Jaden Hoff.
Yep, so there they go. 1 second go. It's going to be borderline once again on the fuel. If we go green, it's one of those old-fashioned fuel mileage races here, Nolan, yet again here in high tide.
And this one wasn't even by design. I mean, sometimes you get fuel mileage races deliberately, like by design. You see leagues set the fuel up like that. This is just how the cautions fell this afternoon that it's turned into a fuel mileage race.
Yeah, this is where so much of the plays now are where you're going to try and manage the tires, but also make sure you clutch and coast a little bit depending on how tight this is going to go. With the natural green run ability for these cars, it's where, again, if you lay for the later cautions, you're in a much better spot. Marasco, Coruscant is really in a good spot in terms of the fuel. Those drivers, if some of these drivers who led much of the way can't make it, you might see a surprise winner just because some of the drivers were able to pit on a caution 20 laps later for the mileage.
Eddie Haggy right now fighting against Jaden Hobb with about 30 lap older tires. We're about to see a big difference in drivers that have come down early on this stint who can likely still go to the end versus drivers that are just now starting to make their way to pit road. And you can see even here, Jaden Hobb on 30 lap fresh tires still completely boxed in and cannot find a way around Eddie Haggy.
Yeah, right now, Hopp getting boxed in. There goes Thorpe actually for the pass. That is for position net on the racetrack. So the 97 giving a big barrier here on the 34 lap full of tires. And now Hopp has to reset to try and find a way back around the 34. And of course, some of these others on old tires that are stumping mid-corner. Oh my goodness!
And around goes Thorpe. Caution is out again. He pulls the 360-degree save, but that got messy there. Thorpe was on 6 lap older tires to Jaden Hobb. Benjamin Lacey hadn't come down pit road yet, so you had 3 different strategies all to come together in the same place, and I don't think Lacey was expecting for them to go down the inside like that for the move.
I think Lacey wasn't expecting that at all, no. Just maintaining his exit, and then everyone else realized, oh no, he doesn't realize the center roll speed difference here coming up. And I could see it. He probably was not expecting this much of a gain of 3-4 car lengths in the center of the corner. Lacey right there realized it with the big shuffle, but everyone just parks it on the exit.
Well, and Thorpe tried to shoot for the inside because he probably thought that Lacey was going to move up and make room for them, but Lacey's just following the double apex line that virtually everybody else on the racetrack has been taking this afternoon, and there was nothing Hobb could have done in the midst of all that because he effectively got brake checked with the car 2 feet off his nose.
Yeah, exactly. Huge checkup situation with that squeeze initially with the line, and now, well, throw the fuel mileage race out of the equation just like that, and that's the big caution that some of the field didn't want, Nolan, because now some drivers have to take the wave around being old stuff, and Ty Marasco gets to be the leader. Net.
Well, call me crazy. I don't think we're done wrecking here yet tonight. I think this is about to really kick some chaos off here that this race has been lacking in the last few laps. This is what it looked like at speed. And I mean, yeah, Lacey never. I mean, you see cars that far back, right? I mean, why are you? I don't know why anybody would expect Lacey to know that they're going to be down his inside by the time they get into turn 2 like that.
Yeah, at this point, the field is probably going to have a lot more attrition, but it's about the survival of the attrition, right? And we're going to see a lot of the fast cars, again, pinned to the back here for much of the rest of the way. Of note, by the way, Larry Bell on the newest DNF list here. Osborne, one of the few taking a second pit stop just in case, I think, with some of the spins. But everybody else here, it's going to be on pins and needles throughout these runs, knowing you have a lot of your lead cars going to be on 10, 15, in the case of Haggy, near 40 lap old tires waiting for the next driver to spin it.
Boy, a hard-fought fight that drivers have been in this afternoon. We have 15 cars on the lead lap. Dees, Thorpe, Barry, Williams, and Phillips all still trapped laps down, and this is devastating for the former pole sitter Michael Thorpe Jr. The car that got spun out means that he will not be able to get to the front runners. He had to come down to not just get fresh tires, but patch up damage as well. Marasco will have the lead with 68 to go off turn 4.
Here we go. Oh, no, tire spin!
Heads up, everyone's gonna pull it together. 3 wide down in the turn 1, looking for 4, and Lacey nearly takes out another car sales going around. What did I tell you, Justin? We weren't done yet. Hard into the wall for Benjamin Lacey. It's the big one on the back straightaway. That collects half the field, and that is the saving caution that quite a few contenders that are now laps down needed. That should give Thorpe the lucky dog to get back on the lead lap.
I think some of the wave arounds were definitely in that, though. That's a major concern, but oh my goodness. I don't know what else to say other than cold tires, Coruscant tire spin, Lacey tire spin. Both of them go around as their tires were lit up in the rears, and it takes out a good portion of the field.
That was a massive accident coming down the back straightaway. Take another look at this one as we jump back, and Corcel lost it by himself on the outside, just bobbled loose, got up into the marbles. And James Yerger, all by a completely separate incident. Yerger spun down the inside. Lace got punted into the air and shoved into the wall. Dees went around. Bob Berry, John Osborne, Sean Williams got collected. Shire spins again at the tail end of the field, but he's able to lock it down and avoid hitting anybody. And quite a few drivers had to scramble on the inside to fight their way around this.
Yeah, and a lot of heavy hits there. Williams was in it, some of the wave around cars in it, but right here was the big one. Corcel up top is not going to help, obviously, just got loose, but Lacey, he started getting loose. Yerger snapped around the corner exit, snap up the racetrack with a 7 in terms of trying to avoid Yerger and straightening it out. And everybody else just has to get hard on the brakes, and we have half the field hit around with contact.
This is from the restart here. You'll watch this as Corcel and Lacey both got loose. And I think Corcel may have been trying to chase the car and get up to speed still. And then he came around into turn numbers 1 and 2, and it was just on from there. And critically, Thorpe did not get the lucky dog wave around on this restart here.
Yeah, this is going to take away a lot of chances because of where some of the checkups were. If you had contact, if you're in the vicinity of the contact. Well, this is, for some of the drivers, the worst case scenario. But Kyle Wellman, actually, in all this, somehow ended up with the lead.
And Kyle Wellman was able to kind of just shoot right through the middle of all of that carnage as a lot of the drivers lost the wheels coming out of the turn 4 the last time through. Jeez Louise. And they were going to go green this time by, but they are going to hold it for one run. I think they're still looking to sort the field out of the tail end, so they're going to give these guys a lap to catch up.
Yeah, some of the drivers I don't think are even close to being able to catch up to the pack there, but as we come up to 63 to go, a lot of tempers are flaring still on the radio, and a lot of big names having opportunities here. Connor Gibson, I think, just tried to steal a lead lap under the pacing lap. You have Jonathan Canfield, who's been up and down with spins. And oh, by the way, Jaden Hobson 6th again. Don't forget about him.
And Jaden Hobb very much in the mix still. Outside line, though, and if there's one place I want to be at Richmond on a restart at this point, it is not on the outside. You got nowhere to run and nowhere to hide if they start to pile up in front of you. How many times have we seen late race big ones, not just in the sim, but also in the real world as well? These final few laps could be dicey. Kyle Wellman will lead us into the restart zone, and we are back to green.
Tire spin in the second row this time. Gibson didn't get well to the gears. Will the field keep it stable, though, when it comes to the slides off the corner on cold tires? Yes. Well, no. Dustin Ping nearly spun it.
He held it, though. That's a plus. He did hold it. So we are going to keep things together for at least another lap here. And Kyle Wellman will take 61 to go. Jaden Hobb continues to fight this one out. He gets around Jonathan Canfield. Connor Gibson clears from the inside line as well, as Hopp pulls up to the outside line. Nickerson and Dustin Ping in the meantime still duking it out side by side with the number 6 spot with Hopp into the top 5.
Yeah, some of the drivers really trying to pounce here. Now Canfield hit.
And he's into the wall around. Does he get hit? Doesn't. No, he does. Oh, my goodness. A vicious T-bone shot right when we thought he was safe. And what could have been a recoverable incident for Canfield will now be a day ender for 2 of them.
Where in the world was Lacey going? He was the last car on the track.
I don't know what to tell you.
Well,
This will be the look.
Yeah. Too deep into the corner. Canfield, remember, has been backing up some of his corners. Gets Canfield all shooken up here. Hard contact going to destroy the car, and then Canfield... Well, I laugh because 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi.
Ugh. And that's at like half speed, too. I mean, there's no way Lacey wouldn't have seen him.
That had to be 10 seconds live from the start of the spin. I think Lacey just was carrying way too much speed in the first place in the corner.
At speed. And again, you don't appreciate just how fast they're going until you really see them right up by the wall like that. And, oh, yeah, Lacey panicked. Went into a hot, saw a car stop, but they probably locked up the front.
Either that or target asphyxiation, where he just straightened the wheel saying, well, I'm making contact anyway, may as well try and just aim for a door instead of a fender. Yeah, right here. Way too deep in the first place.
Ugh.
I don't know if he would have made the corner even if Canfield wasn't there.
Golly. Brutal, brutal crash here in this one as Jonathan Canfield sent for a hard ride back into turn number 1, and stop, and then bam, right into the door for Benjamin Lacey. That is I mean, you could not have had a more central impact into the side if you tried.
I think that's an understatement with that, to say the least. Just wild is all you can really say. But here's the big thing, Nolan, the rest of the way, survival. And we're starting to get to that point where, like I said, expecting some different drivers to be hearing up front here. Hop's in a good spot, though, on the outside of row 2. Expect him to try and fight if we get more than 20 laps of a run.
Oh boy, well, Kyle Wellman wants to go as he tries to wipe out the pace car there coming out of turn number 2. Ty Marasco up on the outside line as Wellman opts for the inside. And Wellman able to get his English. There we go. Kyle Wellman going to get himself sorted. Great flying back in the air this time by.
Decent jump this time, but watch the 0-0. As soon as he gets the chance to get to the inside here, watching him make that cut to attack Marasco, but the problem is the one's boxing him in.
And Ty Marasco into the outside wall, and now trying to hold on to third. Dustin Ping looking set to try and attack down the inside. Oh, Marasco trying to cover him off, but Ping got him back there, and Ping forces the issue into third.
Dustin Ping's been having decent speed all night, but it's been about luck. Hagee now with a proper tire strategy also has been really solid. But Marasco got loose. So apologies over the radio coming for the 1 because that just boxed up the 0-0 again.
And Jaden Hobb now side by side with Kevin Foster as Michael Thorpe Jr. holds himself down on the inside, trying to make a run of his own. James Yerger and Nicholas Coruscant are also in the fray. Yerger, of course, a driver that is right now on an absolute tear, trying to fight his way through. He is 1 lap down, mind you, and fighting with Thorpe for the Lucky Dog free pass.
Yeah, these scraps going to be interesting to keep an eye on. Thorpe right now, I think he's got the pace to hold off here, but it's going to require making sure no one snaps loose in front, because any bit of contact obviously going to take that away, cause absolute disaster. Coruscant could also be a factor here, trying to make up the ground to try and build a buffer for his spots. But here comes the sends, and here comes the caution. There's Thorpe's caution.
And it's for Michael Keithley around on a solo spin in turn number 2. And finally, Thorpe able to fight his way back onto the lead lap, just what the driver, the number 34, was hoping for.
That's exactly the case needed here. Obviously, big factor this, Keithley has no TV panel. And it just takes away the downforce, slips away on entry a little bit too deep. And good save to keep it out of the wall, but obviously stopped on the track. Razor yellow. And now here comes a question. Do you pit and take fresh boots? Oh, Hop is doing it. He is going to play the gamble card, where if there's a quickie caution, much of the field may come down and Hop would come up front and Hop would have fresher tires anyway.
So Jaden Hop is into pit road, Sikorsky, Williams, and more all coming into the box as well. So it's about a 50-50 call, mostly from drivers that are laps down coming into pit road, which is interesting to me. I think a lot of them for damage repairs, but I'm surprised that we're not seeing more of the lead lap contenders into the box.
I think the play is simple. Do you really want to test yourself in the hornet's nest if you're expecting caution flags, Nolan? Yes or no? I think that silence says it all. It's a no.
Yeah, right.
And in this case, now that Hop's in the heart of the field again, you're looking really solid if you're Wellman. You're looking good if you're Ping. Chance of an upset winner here tonight. But remember, each and every restart is going to draw some drivers potentially in for repairs and or a set of tires, maybe if you're the back half. And as a result here, you're going to have a lot of aggression in terms of the end of the top 10. That's where there's the potential knowing of a lot of these caution flags now is going to be where they have those sends 2 and 3 wide up into turn 1.
Carter Phillips sent to the tail of the longest line for speeding on his way out of his pit box. Tough break for Carter Phillips. That was not what he's hoping to have. He's already a laps down, already trying to fight for the lucky dog pass. That could annihilate any chance of getting it, though, on the restart.
Exactly, and now for this restart, I'm concerned there's going to be drivers having issues getting into the gears here again. Because, remember, you're talking about 20, 25 laps on the tires here. Going to have to be careful not to smoke them when you hit the gas here, up in second gear. Hop for good measure here with a fresh tire. Didn't really lose too many net spots. In fact, he only lost 2. Might have been much more smart than possible here because there weren't so many cars who pit. He's still going to be just a rollback of where he was.
And Michael Thorpe Jr. is going to be brought down into pit road as well. He came down pit road for extra service, but by doing so, entered a closed pit, and just like that, Thorpe goes from getting back on the lead lap. Now he's going to be out of it again. Could not have had asked for worse timing for Thorpe on this one. Green flag is back in the air, and look at the jump from Kyle Wellman into turn 1, and around goes Sikorsky.
And right into Brian Dees' lap also. Dees is absolutely destroyed from it.
Oh, boy. Kyle Wellman's got to be lived with that, because you could not have asked for a more perfect launch on the field, only to have it taken away less than a lap later.
Yeah, right here, Sikorsky. Already looking a little loose coming in. Then you see it washes up, has to chase it, and it just spins away with him going too deep into the corner. Great dodge almost for Yerger, but everybody else just parks it.
Phyllis tags the wall as well. One driver that did get around it was Kevin Foster's number 8. Right on board with him. Read that situation real well.
Yeah, just went to the hole, made sure to get around, avoided the contact, and avoided being in the mess. And just like that, we reset with 43 to go this time.
At this point, it's almost impossible to predict who's actually going to win this thing, because it could turn on its head in just a heartbeat. I mean, yeah, Kyle Wellman got a good launch off the line this time by, but who's to say that he's not going to just spin the wheels and go into the wall the next time by? Because we've seen that tonight as well.
Yeah, that's a tough situation here, I think, in terms of potential tire spin. I think for them, it's again down to just knowing how hard you can hit the throttle and knowing where the grip strip really is around this track at the moment to be able to fire off. At this point, with so many contenders picking up some damage here or taking pit stops, it's going to be the case for many of these drivers where you're just hoping, if you're amongst those taking the game of hoping to keep the track position, you don't end up taking yourself out of contention with a wrecked race car trying to defend.
So 10 cars still on the lead lap here, Justin. Nick Nickerson just out of pit road will catch up to the tail end. 18 of the 23 starters are on the racetrack in general. I think we could get a couple more on the lead lap by the end of this, but it's always dependent on if the yellow flag comes out from drivers that are laps down or from drivers that are on the lead lap. What this does help is Michael Loeb Jr. That black flag, now he's gotten it cleared because he came down pit road before the yellow flag came out. It's been cleared.
34 situation here, that's going to put them right into the conversation with the top 10. Watch for some deep sends coming up here, coming to the restart.
Green flag back in the air. Kyle Wellman, just like last time, gets a good jump because Marasco spun the tires and Connor Gibson did not see the jump coming. Oh, and more cars around, and it's Sikorsky again into turn number 1. This time he's collected John Osborne.
Well, Sikorsky is probably hoping to get out of here at this point. At this point, the 94 gonna have some tempers flaring because the 77 sent it in deep, I think, here, Nolan, and hit him right where the damage was in the first place.
Take a look. This is from the restart. And just like the caution before, this comes only, what, 10 seconds into the green flag run. I don't know where Osborne was going with that.
He said everybody was slowing up.
Well, yeah, there's a corner there.
Exactly.
Are you surprised?
I mean, everybody's hitting the brakes at the same mark except for you. What else can you say? But, oh, by the way, Osborne just missed pit road. So he just stopped at the track, so it's compound. So, again, too deep in the corner. Sikorsky did show his displeasure after this by revving up the engine to his front clip.
Get a look on board here with Osborne. You see Carter Phillips actually came to a stop as well. He may have stalled the car. This is what Osborne saw. I don't know what to tell him.
Back up the corner.
And then with Sikorsky. I guess that's one way to get him off your bumper so he can turn around, but I don't... The High Time Racing League has a very no-tolerance policy to any form of intent wrecking. I mean, heck, we actually saw Wesley Tripley. He's actually been suspended for a race. That's why he's not here tonight, is because he got suspended for intent wrecking himself coming to the checker flag in the Michigan race, even though it didn't collect anybody else. Your eyes, Justin, does that qualify? I mean, they're already together and both stopped? That seems like a gray area.
I feel like that's intent tempers flaring more than intent wrecking. Because intent wrecking would be, you know, wrecking somebody into the wall or anything along those lines. I think that's just retaliation tempers. Not a retaliatory wreck, but in other words, it is gray. Very gray. It's a very dark shade of gray. It's almost black in terms of the zone.
Well, the field is going to get set to go at it this time by. We've had a couple of back-to-back caution flags in turn 1 on lap 1 of the restarts. Kyle Wellman is bound to be getting frustrated because he keeps getting these amazing launches, but isn't able to take them anywhere. We'll see what he's going to do as we get set to go back to green flag racing this time by. Kyle Wellman trying to see if he can go 3 for 3 and pull off the hat trick on good launches. He sure has. Once again, he is gone entering turn 1.
How long does this run go is the question. It's gone longer than the past 2 already. We're looking solid. Oh, hold on. Gibson's getting loose again.
Gibson's loose. Maraska went up the track and nearly cleaned out Haggy, but he's able to hold it underneath him. Nickerson and Thorpe powering it up. Thorpe almost gets taken out as Nickerson steps sideways, but we're able to get a lap in this time.
Yeah, but Jaden Hopp in particular is waiting for a place to cut, and here we go again.
Yellow flag, and John Osborne back into the wall for the second caution in a row, and looking like he collected Carter Phillips. Oh yeah, Phillips is junk. Look at all the sparks from the underside of that car from a broken suspension.
That car is destroyed. All simply because 77 lost it going into the heart of the corner. A lot of these drivers are having issues being able to exit, being able to enter, carrying too much speed, just snapping around with the way these cars are on the downforce. And if you aren't careful, you just snap, snap, snap. And in this case, the 77, watch it here, starts snapping, then realizes he's snapping, but by race car into the 30.
Boy, that's quite the lick, isn't it? And Phillips takes a shot into the outside wall. That's all she wrote for John Osborne's day. And that's that left rear damage that'll be biting them big time there. And that's what, the 4th time that Osborne has been caught up in a collision tonight?
I think so. It's become really big of an attrition-filled one. This is one of our longest races of the season, by the way, Nolan, if I'm keeping track of this. We're looking almost towards the 1 hour 30 mark. Most of the races have been complete by this point, including post-race interviews. So cautions, continuing to add to those minute totals. We still have no time issue in terms of in the session, but they are stacking up to be one of the longest races of the year.
Kyle Wellman going to keep up the pressure here. And at this point, I mean, you're starting to kind of run out of ideas if you're Kyle Wellman, because it's not going to be too much longer before this field starts to catch on to your tricks.
I think it's not necessarily catching up to the tricks. I think quite simply, Kyle Wellman's just hitting the gas so well because everyone else is going to have about a half a second to a second reactory delay that it's allowing him to just boost away. And the more he gets these jumps, the more likely he's going to have a chance to hold on here. But again, it's kind of the thought of if it goes green, it becomes the question, does someone like a Hopp or a Marasco or even Hagee or anybody else in the front of the field pick up long run speed and track down that 42? If you keep getting cautious like this, you're taking away opportunities to battle for the win.
Well, we'll stack it up, double it up, and get ready to go back at it once again. But boy, this race has gone off the rails, would be putting it nicely, as Kyle Wellman and Eddie Hagee will work their way through turn numbers 3 and 4, and we'll try to jump back into it this time by. Green flag is in the air. 30 laps to go from Richmond, and Gibson steps the tail and out, goes onto the apron, but saves it.
Sorry's on the radio. Coruscant pushed up the racetrack, and now Hopp nearly getting hit. This is the hornet's nest of nightmares. Looks like everybody's able to survive for now, but a lot of these drivers are on edge on their wheels.
This is just, I mean, this ain't going to last. There's going to be something that goes awry here in the next couple of corners here. Thorpe down to the inside, 3 wide of Gibson and Jaden Hopp. Jaden Hopp being forced out of line. Around goes Marasco, but he's able to keep it off the inside wall.
Yeah, Marasco losing a ton of ground after having a decent chance for good points. Look at Thorpe Jr. though, with these opportunities starting to finally capitalize here. Has stayed out of the wrecks. Now, he's getting himself the spots he needs for a good points day again.
Nickerson, Gibson, Hopp running back 5th through 7th as we continue to pile on the pressure on the front runners. Kyle Wellman has been able to still jump ahead by a decent gap, but Eddie Hackey has been able to at least keep the speed up to start to try to run it back down. Keep in mind that Hackey does have 6 lap pressure tires than Wellman does, so Wellman has been really needing to rely on getting good jumps off of these restarts.
Exactly, and this is what I just talked about, right? The more laps you have, the more chance of someone to chase you on down. Hackey's the first one up because he's been one of the fastest drivers throughout the season. And if Hackey can pull this off, pretty big for his circumstances here. He is a driver not yet to win yet this season. This would be a prime time to do it for the lead. Here he goes.
Down to the bottom lane for Hackey. Kyle Wellman up on the outside line. Oh, and a big step out there for Hackey as he fights his way through. Kyle Wellman down to the bottom. Oh, no, he's turned! Hackey gets into Wellman. He's pushing him more and more. Caution is out. And Hackey just did not let up. I think he was, half of that was trying to get the 42 straightened out. It didn't look like he was trying to go all the way around, but clearly did not go to plan.
That's the clear thing here, and where do you score him? I think he's getting scored mid-pack with that, and that is going to put, I think, Foster to the race lead with that collecting the front runners.
Ay, ay, ay. Hackey entered real low in turn 3 and just washed up the track, gets the 42, and then hits him 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 times there. He hit Wellman, and you saw it was like turning to the left, right? I think he was trying to help straighten him out, but that could have ended up doing more harm than good by giving him more damage.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing. Thorpe Jr., who just pit for tires a little while ago, just took an error set. I think he felt he didn't have the best track position. Trying to give himself even bigger of a split. Wellman's in the lead still. He stayed out from that.
Oh, boy. I don't know if I agree with that call, especially after the ride he just took. He might be out of tires, which is why we're seeing him not pit yet.
Yeah, he's pit 5 times. Strong chance of that here, Nolan. So his bed's made. Here's the thing, same for the 2. Hopp might have an extra set available, but I don't think Hopp's going to sacrifice from 3rd here. Everybody else, it's a lottery on the tires, and those at the back of the field will need a lot of laps to get passes, and I don't know if they're going to be able to charge in time with only about 20 laps to do it.
Well, this field's showing no signs of slowing down anytime soon, so we're going to take ourselves another step back. When we return, Racing Action continues on Great Flight TV. Stay with us. We got a wild final few laps coming up.
Cade Corbin and that Auburn machine of Andrew McGill in the 034 back there on the outside. So a pair of Auburn teammates and a whole bunch of different universities representing this top 10. But right now, it's that Otterbein University 48 sitting up front and going to lead the field to the green flag. But also James Bowman is going to be hungry trying to get past the 48 and get back to that lead spot and get some fresh air on the nose of that 18. Pace car back down pit road. 48 taking its time to get to the restart zone. And oh, she gets actually hooked on the outside. And now she's around on the tri-oval.
Oh no, and the big one's going to strike here as the caution should immediately come back out. We're still under green flag conditions. The caution has come out.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV, where we are seconds away from going back to Green Flag Racing for the final 20 laps of the High Tide Racing League at Richmond. Green Flag is in the air. Kyle Wellman not nearly as good of a launch this time by. And Jaden Hobb, Nick Nickerson getting set to swarm him into turn number 1.
Hold on, we got another crash.
Oh,
it's
boy.
and it's Hagee in it.
Oh, you're kidding me. And Lacey, 2 cars that have already been put through a blender.
Not sure how Lacey got into this one, but I know Hagee for a fact did send it in very deep under Sikorsky.
I think Hagee and Sikorsky have had contact once before today, haven't they? Oh,
I think so.
Well, clearly not intentional from Hagee. Has just spun up the inside hard into the wall, and Lacey, second time in turn 1, nowhere to go.
This one's a little bit more reasonable than the 10 seconds delay the previous time. He was just up the high side in the first place. Seven's lucky to keep on finding front bumpers, but all this as well. This takes away laps from those who just took tires to do something, anything to go for this race win.
Lacey was already into the wall as they entered turn number 1 before Sikorsky even went around, or Hagee went around. He had overshot the corner already.
Almost feel like he anticipated something happening. He was just hoping it wasn't going to fall in his lap.
Well, Jaden Hopp is going to get set to go at it here before too much longer, as we'll look to... You can already see these guys are starting to go double file. They want to just finish this race out at this point. I'm sure they're all thinking, let's just get this thing over with at this point in time. But coming up here on Green Flag TV, plenty of action to be excited about. Of course, CIL is racing here this afternoon, and coming up tomorrow, it's another triple header with the Aspire Racing Series at Watkins Glen International, the Mid-Atlantic Race Series at Vegas, while Omas Road takes to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez down in Mexico. PSR is back for more at Daytona for their season opener on Wednesday, alongside the Beer League on Wednesday night as well. And then it's the Collegiate iRacing League over at the Phoenix Raceway, alongside the that's the Castle Glass Company Series at the Phoenix Raceway on Thursday. They are alongside the Collegiate iRacing League's Formula Challenge Series at the Ottawa Speedway, as well as the Speed Cup Series kicking off their season as well on Thursday night. So plenty to be excited about, as you got what, triple header after double header after triple header. That's what, Justin, 9, 11, 12 races in the span of just 100 hours? Talk about a week.
Got a lot of racing action on the schedule. The question will be, who will survive for those wins? Who will survive to win this one? Jaden Hopp with the cycles is now in front. Can he hold on for 15 more times?
Jaden Hopp jumps on the loud pedal, and he is clean and green. Doesn't bang, bobbles the tires as he is all sorts of crossed up. Entering turn 1. Hopp's able to clear. And we're going 2 by 2 back through turn number 22. And come on, guys. Really? It's Osborne and Wellman caught up in another.
Well, it goes from chances of winning to not so much, and Osborne's day continues to have a dial-up internet sort of day.
I don't even know what to say at this point, Justin. I mean, it was looking good. And I think a lot of drivers are just driving in over their heads. They're all aggressive. They're all trying to fight for whatever they can get. And once again, you see the damage. Oh, up front, actually. Kyle Wellman's already around. And then also got turned by Phillips. Checking up for the wreck.
At this point, just put some bubble wrap on the car and hope for the best. It's like Martinsville right now. Just so much attrition. And yet again, another one sends it in too deep.
A lot of this, I feel, is just drivers, driving over their heads, entering these corners, right? We've seen so many about drivers just losing the back end. on the way into these corners. And you know, a lot of folks might want to blame the track or blame the car, but my reaction to that is, well, if you can go, what, we had 80, 90 laps in the middle, if you can do that, you can do the last 40. I mean, I always didn't like the whole track or the car as the excuse, because it's a manageable combo. We've seen that today. It's just drivers need to calm it down a bit, and remember, there's still laps left.
Yeah, at this point, it becomes more and more of a, if you stayed out at the right time, you're going to probably win this race type of you feel. Because it's always about the 40 to go time. If you pit after that point, it's not a guarantee you can get all the spots back. And for some of the drivers, it's exactly the case. Sean Williams in particular, going to potentially benefit if he can keep himself out of trouble, because Williams has struggled all day. Top 3 would be a big change from where he's ran on average all day.
We'll reset this one. Should be 10 to go when we get the green flag. Jaden Hopp had a good launch, and you know, I talked about how Jaden Hopp was going to have a rough time getting to the field, and for the most part, that was true today. Hopp's gotten lucky with how a lot of the pit stops have fallen, and that sees him back in the lead, looking to go for his second hat trick of the season. But now all he's got to do is survive.
Indeed, I think this is a great opportunity. I think Hopp in particular here, even though he hasn't had the best car, he's been in a spot now with this to take advantage of some of the drivers' attrition, get a 7th Hopp win, hippity hop to victory lane.
Green flag is out this time by Jaden Hopp. Takes off. He is clear. Entering turn. Oh boy, Dustin Payne nearly got sent around by Marasco. Do we get through turn 2? I think we have, but Thorpe's looking for the inside of Kevin Foster. No room, and Marasco hard into the outside wall. Caution is, I don't even know what to tell you.
Oh, and nope.
I think they're stuck.
I don't think they're stuck. I think Marasco says he is stuck. Sure. Okay.
There we go. They got clear now. I don't know why Marasco would be mad at Foster, because it was Thorpe that sent that one 3 wide unnecessarily into turn 3.
Yeah, that front bumper, I think, almost was dragging it.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at this. Just, you've seen it coming with Thorpe Jr. trying to take a 3 wide here. Don't blame Thorpe Jr., but the problem is, obviously, Foster was not going to give him the space, sent it in very deep with the anticipation, and just pushed up in Marasco.
You see Dustin Ping went for a wild slide. He was actually able to recover it as well, and I am curious on if they did indeed get a tangled. I mean, you kind of look when they come around the corner here. That front bumper is flapping. I don't know. It does actually kind of look like Marasco's caught up in the right front wheel well. I mean, that wheel, look at it. Look at the wheel, the sticker. He is turning to the right, trying to get out of him.
Yeah, I don't know if we've seen that too much here in terms of the stock cars. I know in the road course, they say, watch the glue, watch the glue.
Yeah, especially in open wheel racing.
Yeah, today, yeah, right there.
Oh.
The slam so hard. Yeah, they just got binded together because the physics just warped into each other.
And you can tell Marasco's trying to get out of it. So was Kevin Foster. I mean, there's just, obviously, he can't turn the wheel too far right or he's going to spin himself out the second he gets out of control. But so what he's got to do is he does the right thing. He starts to gradually ease off, and then he does lift out of it. But yeah, that was definitely not intentional from Marasco. They were definitely hung up together there.
Indeed, and now at this point, only a few laps to go. It's Hopp's race to lose now, because at this point, if you're on the fresh tires, there's not enough time to be able to pass by 5 cars. You're hoping that you just don't spin it. Here's some of the others like Dustin Payne, who had a big drift and is still going to be top 6.
Got tagged from the rear, and look at how far sideways this car is flung into turn number 3. Didn't hit a thing. That is some fine driving from Dustin Ping. Even Michael Thorpe Jr. would be proud of that one.
But the field's getting ready for the restart. Again, double zeros race to lose. Everybody else is going to be completely sending it underneath the 81 in the 34 coming up here. It's going to be pretty chaotic again.
Green flag back in the air with 5 laps the distance. Another yellow flag forces this race into overtime as Jaden Hopp takes off with the lead of this race. And unless something big happens to Hopp, it is looking smooth sailing for the 00 up front. 2 by 2 behind, especially for second, as Williams tries to attack Nickerson for second place.
Here we go. Williams wants to try and get an extra couple points here. He's been having a rough night, but it's 3 wide with Thorpe on the fresher tires.
This didn't work the last time, but it's going to stick this time. Dustin Ping gives Thorpe the room to work with. Coruscant tracking up to the outside wall. Thorpe's going to be able to get clear. And with 3 laps to go now, coming down to turn numbers 1 and 2, Thorpe's trying to get that run for a podium.
Going to have to be able to dig pretty hard here coming up towards 2 laps to go. Seems like he's got the comfortability. The problem's going to be speed down the straightaways. He isn't closing as much as he needs to with Williams covering him up for dirty air.
2 to go. Still with a lot of pressure deeper in the field as Connor Gibson and James Yerger trying to cross each other out. Kyle Wellman as well, looking to make this run happen. 1 lap to go, though. Jaden Hopp is clear with no competition behind. The last time Hopp went on a winning streak, he took 4 in a row, and he's looking like he might be able to go for a repeat. He'll take 3 in a row. It's the second hat trick of the season. Hopp to victory lane.
Nicely done to take advantage with the caution flags. Thorpe Jr. just spun it out after the checker flag. But everybody else is thankful this is the checker.
Boy, what a bloodbath this afternoon. That is the only way that this race could be described. There is virtually no car on track that is clean. Oh, boy. And I'm sure for Hopp, this is not... I'm sure he's glad this is over as well. I mean, this is not how you realistically want to win one of these races.
Yeah, but at this point, if you're Hopp, you take it where you can. Taking our win, your championship favorite does it again.
Well, we'll get a rundown of your official post-race results here this afternoon, as this one was quite the journey that we had throughout the course of the afternoon, and we'll jump down, and it's going to be the likes of Jaden Hopp taking his 3rd win in a row. Nickerson comes on 2nd, Williams 3rd, then it's Thorpe, Coruscant, Ping, Foster, Wellman, Gibson, and Yerger for the top 10.
11th spot today went to Bob Berry, Michael Keithley, and Ty Marasco in the lead lap. Drivers laps down include Osborne, Sikorsky, Dees, Shire, Phillips, Heggie, and Lacey amongst the top 20. Amongst the RDNFs / drivers well down the order today. Including Canfield, Bell, and Kilrogues here today, knowing some drivers taking some hits.
Boy, what a brutal afternoon. Kilrogue, the only car that did not make it past the halfway point here this afternoon. And it's such a shame, right? I mean, we're having such a good run for so long, and it just fell apart for this field kind of in the back end of this one. But let's get a rundown here. We'll try to chat with the drivers that come home numbers 1, 2, and 3 here this afternoon. We'll start things off first and foremost with Jaden Hopp coming home number 1 for his 3rd win in a row. And Jaden, what an up and down night for you. You go from spinning on your 2nd qualifying lap, got collected in a couple of incidents tonight. All of that to bounce your way back to the point and take your third win in a row this afternoon in what became a race of survival. Talk us through what was a crazy night.
Oh, it was definitely one hour of an up and down race. Obviously spun in qualifying, like you said. That didn't set us off very well. But yeah, we got. I made some setup changes before the race actually. Normally, like when I come to these sort of tracks, I run like 16-to-1 steering ratio, but this time I ran 8 just to give it a try, and what do you know, it ended up working out pretty well. But got caught up in that first or second caution, one of the two. Got like 30 seconds of damage, fixed that. Worked out pretty well. Then we got caught up in that one to kick off everything. But pretty happy to come out and win this thing. Got pretty lucky that the 42 pitted there, honestly. I think he probably would have ended up winning the race if he stayed out, but it worked out that way. So glad to just finish the race off and go on to the next one.
Let's talk records here. You currently hold the record for most wins back to back, and that was, of course, 4 in a row earlier this season. With this being your 3rd in a row, do you have the faith that you can go out at Sonoma and match that record to potentially surpass it in New Hampshire the week after?
Sonoma's going to be pretty difficult. Nick is always very fast. I hear, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I hear Aaron's supposed to be there, and he's always very good. So hopefully he goes out. I can go out and win the thing, but I know I'm definitely going to have stiff competition when we go there.
Well, wish you the best of luck when we go racing once again. Congratulations, Jaden, on coming home number 1 for the 3rd race in a row. We'll see you next time out when we go racing in California. Hope
to see you there. Thank you.
Jaden Hopp comes home number 1 this afternoon. Justin, you've caught up with our runner-up, Nick Nickerson, who was he had quite the dogfight coming down to the wire.
Yes, indeed, a chance to battle for the race win, but in the end, it's P2 for the number 2. How would you describe those closing laps as chaos seemed to reign around the circuit?
Oh, it does not look like he's actually available for us here this afternoon. So instead, Justin, how about we pass you on down to Sean Williams down in 3rd?
Yes, indeed. As we congratulate Nick on newborn twins, Sean, somehow you get to 3rd. Are you surprised?
Yes. How did that happen? Please tell me.
No, seriously, how did you feel it happened?
I'm not sure. This track and the next 2 weeks are my least favorite part of the schedule. I'm not very good at Richmond, so my goal was just to keep my nose clean, and somehow it happened. I don't think anyone had an easy race tonight, so that made it very, I don't know how it happened. I didn't even expect to get a top 10. This is kind of unbelievable.
One of the interesting things that we've seen throughout the season is you and Nick Corso normally have been running towards each other. What has changed in recent weeks where it seems you two have separated a little bit in terms of your overall positions on the board? This time you get the upper hand of the 40.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like either him or Scott. I'm always just kind of racing. I'm not sure what's going on. Lately, I don't know. I think it's the round of tracks, really. That's what's playing a big deal in it. But, yeah, I don't know. I am around Nick a lot, though, aren't I?
Yes. You actually technically were tonight. You were only separated by 2 spots. But how do you feel about Sonoma? Do you feel you're going to be able to do well there?
As far as the road courses, I don't know. That's actually one of my least favorites in cars like this. So once again, I'm going to show up, try to keep my nose clean, and hope everybody else has an awful race and see what we can get out of it.
Any show would you like to give here tonight?
Yeah, you guys broadcast and everyone who is watching, thank you. All the admins who put on the league and everyone who shows up to race every week.
Congratulations on the top 3 tonight, Sean.
Appreciate it, Justin.
Sean Williams gets himself a podium here. And Nolan, tonight was wild. Our longest race of the year ends with Hop doing another Hop thing. He is nearly 100 points up.
It is incredible how even in a race as chaotic as this one, Jaden Hopp finds a way to just get to the front, right? I mean, this isn't a race like we usually see from him where he just crushes it on pace all the way through. I mean, this was I hate using the term, right? But there's no other way to describe it. It was sheer luck that he found himself back at the front by the end of this one. But hey, a win is still very much a win. And I know he tries to downplay his own efforts. He's humble that way. But I got a feeling we could be seeing 4 in a row next week at Sonoma. For a second time this season, might I add.
Strong chance, I think, too, absolutely. Because Sonoma's going to be one of those races where it's down really to talent and ability on road courses, and Hop's pretty solid at that. Everybody else, I think, is going to be the challenge on where they settle in, because after that point, you have New Hampshire, you have Chicagoland. 2 very different tracks. One of them going to count as short track. Chicagoland, of course, a mile and a half, the first mile and a half in months. For some of the drivers, it will be, can they keep it clean the next few weeks here before the chase?
That is, of course, the big question in everybody's minds. They'll have a chance to reset out of Sonoma next week. But before we get to that, plenty of action yet to come. It's a triple header on both Tuesday and Thursday in broadcasting, and a double header on Wednesday. Tomorrow, it is Aspire, it is Mars, and, of course, it is Ole Miss Sorrel, all jumping up at once on Tuesday afternoon. In the meantime, want to find out more about who we are and what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv. Holy cow, what a journey tonight was, and there's still plenty of action yet to be had here throughout the course of this season. There's a long way to go before the chase, and a lot that can happen at Sonoma. So we'll see you all then. It's Wine Country next week. We'll swing out to California, and we'll see you all back on the West Coast.